So if the AutoZam AZ1 is the McLaren of the Kei car world, turbo, mid-engine, and the Honda Beat is the Carrera GT, NA, high revving, what does that make the Suzuki Cappuccino? You tell me. Yeah, you know, just a bit tighter than an NA MX-5. Just a tad. Ooh, nice grabby clutch. That is a surprisingly meaty clutch for a Kei car. Wow. To hear an HKS SSQV blow-off valve in a car without a huge front mount or a big wing on the back is so funny. It just adds to the comical nature of this. All right, does not feel like there's power steering. Where is the door switch? Okay, so there's no room on the doors to put the window switches, so those are in the center, much like a Ferrari or a few VW products. Wow, okay, we do have this awesome Momo steering wheel. This is the one time where a flat bottom steering wheel really makes sense, because of course it's so your knees don't hit the steering wheel and it's easier to get in and out. Okay, so this is a 1992 Suzuki Cappuccino. This is a Gran Turismo icon. The first time I saw this car was maybe 2 weeks ago at Cars and Coffee. And the owner of this car, Brandon, has owned it for about a year now. This is a Gran Turismo icon. Take me back to GT2. Take me back to Gran Turismo 2. Pixelate me, please. Pixelate me and put me in the simulation. Of course, it only has 63 horsepower from a 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, as most of the Kei cars do. Very similar to the AutoZam AZ1. They all kind of share the same engine architecture. They all kind of share the same, well, size dimensions, because they were regulated by Japanese law, of course. I mean, in terms of power delivery, start off from, yes, 5,000 RPM. Turbo light comes on the dash. We're in full spool, but you'd never know it. One of those cars that the deeper you get into the corner, the more feel you get, not only from the tires, but in the steering as well. A little bit of lean. So the wheel and tire setup here. Oof. A little bit of rubbing. Wheel and tire setup here is aftermarket. Of course, it's got the iconic Watanabes on here, which just match the car's ethos brilliantly. They match the look so well. And then, of course, a nice meaty tire setup to go along with it. There's a little bit of poke. Makes the Cappuccino look mean. The AutoZam, you really, like, it felt like an older car. It felt like a almost an 80s era car compared to this. You really had to like climb in and sit down into the chassis, where this is a little bit more normal. I would say out of the three, and I've driven a Beat, I've driven an AZ1, this is kind of the most normal feeling, I guess you could say. It's very similar in look, not in feel, but in look on the interior here to an NA MX-5. Like, I want to push this car harder than I did the Honda Beat or the AZ1, which is funny because it's front engine, it's not mid-engine, but maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe the weight distribution, the front engine contributes a little bit more to the turn-in, bit of a more sticky turn-in with this car. But it's just funny because you look at the 3K cars and you really break it down. Okay, the Honda Beat is like a high revving NA engine, right? Of course. It revs, its whole thing is, yeah, it revs to 8,500 RPM. The AutoZam and this are turbocharged, so, okay, the power band should be, theoretically, a little bit lower down and cut the RPMs. That's generally how it goes, NA versus turbo cars. But that's not the case. This still revs to 8,500 RPM. You get the best of both worlds here. So what's the deal? What does the Honda Beat have? You know, I love the Honda Beat. I love the Honda Beat. It's so much fun, and especially looking at the interior of the Honda Beat, let's compare. It looks a lot more modern. It has that really cool kind of separated gauge cluster. It looks a little bit more futuristic. But on the outside of the Beat, kind of pedestrian, kind of boring. The Cappuccino here, this is like, you know, the LM version of this car, the race car version of this car looks proper. But the Cappuccino's right there on cool factor. This is like the club racer of the three. And the mid-engine thing is more of a, not gimmick maybe, but just more of just, you know, a packaging thing, versus in this car, it's still really close to 50-50 weight distribution. It absolutely has the best name. Oof. Best name of the three. And it has a really cool drop top. It's still got a glass rear window back there. It's not like you have to pay $5,000 for your NA MX-5 hardtop. And even these seats have made me aware this isn't a pedestrian Suzuki. One tone and simple yet effective. Now that I mention it, this is far and away the only Suzuki I hope to ever drive from this day forward, and I really hope you guys agree with me on that one. It takes itself just a little more seriously. It's for the distinguished motorist. And rather than shoving adrenaline into your veins like a GTR, it'll only subtly remind you of your drug addiction. Just a suggestion to take a sip and cruise, not an order. What a ridiculous car. It's so small, it takes up half of the lane. You can play motorcycle road positions with the Cappuccino. There's one, there's two, there's three. See, this is the thing. On big North American roads, a Kei car like this, you have more lane positions. So when you're staying in your lane on a twisty back road, you can play the driving line. You can stay on the driving line and you have a lot of room. You can pick an actual turn-in point within your lane and be like, oh, did I hit the apex just perfectly? You know, it adds more fun. And instead of just adding power, you just add more dynamics. And actually that's totally the wrong way of looking at things. You take away. What the Kei cars do is they took away. And I feel like, of course, as we head into the future and metropolis kind of areas are like, hey, no more gasoline powered cars in our densely populated urban areas, these should be the one exception to that. The Kei cars should be the one exception. You know, that way we can still have a little bit of visual entertainment as we're sipping our cappuccinos at the corner downtown. Love that turbo light on the dash. It's always on. I'm not sure how much further the seat goes back. Is that an Alphard ahead of us? Wow. May as well be in Japan. Okay. Let's do an acceleration run. Start from 3,000 RPM and go all the way to the 8,500 RPM red line. It pulls to 8,500. The difference between this and the Beat, though, the Beat carries. This one kind of falls off after 6,500 RPM. It's a torquey engine. It's got a little bit more passing power, a little bit more torque. It feels much like the AutoZam. Very similar feeling to the AutoZam. Super direct steering, too. That's one thing they nailed. It's not just like a toy box car that looks like it should be playful, it actually is. It has those inherent sports car dynamics, just on a smaller scale. And if you can fit into one of these, the cost, like the price for fun here, is some of the best in the right-hand drive JDM world. It truly is.
Yep, so with this, it's a 3-piece roof design. So the reason I do that, because then they will all fit inside the trunk of this car. It takes quite a bit of mangling, but it does fit. There are 6 clips underneath here and two each panel.
Okay.
These are aluminum.
Oh,
so
wow.
they dent easy, as you can see, but I mean they're somewhat lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to, you can take off just 2 of them and then leave it like a T-top.
T-top, yeah.
Yeah.
So you potentially,
Yeah.
that is what it'll look like.
A little bit more aerodynamics for you.
Glass in the back, and it has the heat element in it as well. And then you can also fold this down into this cavity. So
Wow. So that's real, of course, because it has a heat element. It's actual glass,
yeah,
and it doesn't. It's not like an MX-5 where it's
it's
plastic.
not that plasticky stuff.
Yeah.
So, which this is really cool packaging, in my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't latch it properly, this thing will beep. It's very annoying, but it'll remind you that you didn't push it down all the way hard enough or something. That's what it looks like.
Wow. Okay.
And it came with these little bags for these pieces so that they don't scratch.
Oh, okay.
So
Yep.
there's supposedly 3 of them. I have 2 of them at home, and
Yeah.
these they kind of tie them down like so.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, after you put those 3 roof panels in, you probably have like yay amount of room on the side.
Yeah.
A little jacket,
Yes.
and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. It's either groceries or you get to ride with the top down.
Or the versatility of the that's right.
So I mean, it's a Suzuki, but it's almost less practical than a lot of modern supercars, in a way.
Yeah,
you
can
know.
say in a way.
It's got the Gran Turismo flavor. Like I said, pixelate me. This has brought Gran Turismo to real life, and it's not a practical car. It's not a first car. Like, it's not a daily. It's not a second car even, really. This is a third car. This is realistically a third car, right? Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been 1992 Suzuki Cappuccino, one of the richest flavors in the JDM world, and especially the K-car world. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hit me up on Instagram, Roads Untraveled, if you want to see what I'm shooting. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you very soon.